Right, 31 August 2021, and I'm joined by my usual guest, Dr. Fergus Mteneri. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, Gambakwe. How are you this evening?
Fantastic. And today we've got a quick discussion on a topic that you started with, our neighbors in Zambia. There has been a lot of drama in that country. Yes. Have you been observing what was happening in Zambia this past week?
No, there's been quite a lot happening, and everybody is following what is happening in Zambia. Zambia has become sort of, an exciting kind of political field because elections here in Zimbabwe, back in Zimbabwe, are around the corner. And yeah, I'm sure that excitement has brought about this this whole following. So we were following the whole thing about from Chamisa being invited, the army being fired, the police and stuff like that. Yes, Gambako.
Okay. In my opinion, I think Hakainde Hichilema is making a lot of mistakes in this past week. So I want us to go into that, and I want to hear your opinion. Let's start with what you just said now about Chamisa. Did you hear what Chamisa said about his trip to Zambia?
He said a lot of things. I would want you to pick out on because I had the issue of the vaccination. I had the issue of the way they were handled there, and quite a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, let's play the clip. Right. Chamisa was given a convoy. He was paraded in public. In fact, it was almost as if Hakainde Hichilema was rubbing it in Mnangagwa's face. That I've got this guy here, you don't recognize him in your country. And I want to show you that he's the official opposition. And in the case of Tendai Biti, they even hugged on the stage. I think I want to play that clip. I want you to see what I'm talking about.
May I also invite the Honorable Advocate Nelson Chamisa, President for the Movement of Democratic Change Alliance of Zimbabwe. May I also invite Honorable Tendai Biti, Deputy President of MDC Alliance. Honorable Tendai Biti, sir. And finally,
right, you saw him hugging Tendai Biti then.
Yes. Now,
is that international protocol? Is that international protocol? You call the president of a country, and then you do that with the guys that are in the opposition, that are not even the official opposition. Is that not an international mistake that is just made there, Hakainde Hichilema?
Well, it's quite this topic we are discussing. It's quite, if you like, a sensitive one, or one in which I don't think there can be really a theory to explain it. But to say, remember, this HH is a man coming from the opposition, and where he has been trying to get into power for 6 times and failing, and he has experienced how cold it is in the opposition terraces. And I am not sure that it is against any international protocol because look, you don't throw away your friends. These are people who helped him, who gave him solidarity during his struggles to get into power. And I remember at one point when Tendai Biti was trying to flee to Zambia, the High Court there even had given him sort of protection, but the party in power, they had gotten him deported. Nelson Chamisa is a friend, so he was extending his friendship. But the good thing is that in that stadium, remember, it was not only Nelson Chamisa or Tendai Biti. There was Musi Maimane and other opposition or other leaders from other various, groupings. And I think for him, in the way we are going to talk about it, it might signal the kind of politics that we will start to see in Zambia. The body language is already pointing to a revision, probably on the foreign policy that he might want to pursue, probably a foreign policy which seeks to be inclusive. And I don't think that there is anything amiss. Chamisa being given that protection, I think it's what ought to be done. It's what ought to be done so that we move away from the toxic politics in which the opposition is seen as sellouts and others are seen as patriots, as it were. So for now, that's what I can say from this particular events we have seen there.
Okay, but do you agree that it's a mistake, a diplomatic mistake, what happened there? From Hakainde Hichilema, he would never do the same if, let's say, it was one of the big international countries, like if it was the United States or the UK, he would never make that diplomatic mistake. He would think carefully about what he was going to do. In fact, was this not a slap across the face to the Zimbabwean president, what he did?
Well, one could look at it in that way. One might want to look at it in that way. But look, like I've already said, let's not look at or focus on what happened what happened in Zambia with Chamisa in particular, which was beamed to most Zimbabweans as a fight or a tiff between Zimbabwe and Zambia per se, because like I've already shown you, he invited Musi Maimane was there. Malema, by his own admission, was invited, but unfortunately he couldn't because they were preparing for their local government elections. And I don't want it must be the problem of the Zimbabwean president or functionaries. It is their problem if they think the way the opposition was handled in Zambia was a slap in their face. Because if I go with what you are saying, their intention would have been to see that opposition being embarrassed or what. I mean, we saw the whole Twitter, all the Twitter streets with George Charamba himself and many others trying to fight for a piece of HH, and instead it shows how our own politics are toxic, not the other way around. I think what Zambia did was just the right thing to do.
Okay, but Chamisa is refusing to recognize the president of Zimbabwe, Mnangagwa. So this is well known. Hakainde Hichilema knows that Chamisa has been refusing to recognize the 2018 elections, presidential elections. Mm-hmm. And he brings Chamisa on the podium he brings him on the podium in front of the president of Zimbabwe that Chamisa is refusing to recognize.
Yeah, Gambagwe, it also signals, like I've already said, it signals the turn of the politics in the region. Look, there's been a shift, if you like, in terms of those that have been coming to power in the sub-region. And if you look at Zambia, this is a guy coming from the opposition. This is not the Liberation Party as we know it. This has happened in Malawi. We have seen a party coming into power which is not necessarily a revolutionary power. And we have also seen some moderate leaders, if you like, who have come into power. And this shift, Zambia is just icing it to say, look, all those incumbents or leaders from the liberation parties who would have thought that being in opposition means that you are an enemy. It's not supposed to be. And that shift, I think it is there. And we wait to see how HH continues to engage with both parties. On one hand, the government of Zimbabwe, and on the other hand, the opposition parties, not only in Zimbabwe, but in Southern Africa. But I think it marks some shift, and we are yet to see, we will follow to see how it goes around.
Okay, so let's conclude on the Chamisa issue. In the coming 2023 elections, do you think Zambia is going to become another front for the MDC? In the past, the MDC has been based in South Africa.
Yes.
Do you think Zambia is now going to be the next front where the MDC is going to be operating from?
One could look at it and say, definitely this opportunity, this provides an opportunity for the opposition in Zimbabwe. It's most definite as to how they could use Zambia. Remember, Zambia has historically been a country known to support struggles. It's now with the guy who is coming from opposition, HH. Yes, he might choose, like Manawasa, to start to question fellow leaders where he thinks that they are not following the guidelines set by SADC, whether to run free and fair elections, whether in their treatment of opposition, issues of human rights abuses and stuff like that. And I think, yes, for the opposition, here is a government that has clearly shown that they are willing to support them. And I think this should also give to the current leaders, it should show them where the tide is blowing to. That these people who have been in opposition, like HH, they are tired of being treated as puppets, as enemies of the state, as dark forces. You know, there are all those words that are used. Yet they are patriotic Zimbabweans, patriotic people who want to see a change in the way the countries are. Look, revolutionary parties, by their nature, they revert back to the liberation struggle. I mean, to give them entitlement to their positions they have, and they make everyone who hasn't fought in the liberation struggle, you know, feel like they have no part to play. And what HH is doing in this particular instance, as long as he will be able to sustain it, I think that is the right way to go. And for me, I would applaud it at this stage.
Okay, so now let's look at what you just said. We now have Okay, I want to phrase this as a question. Is Mnangagwa now surrounded? Because now we've got Hakainde Hichilema in Zambia. We've got Chakwera in Malawi. We've got the Botswana guys, Masisi. We've got South Africa, who sent a delegation to negotiate on behalf of Chamisa. We've got 4 countries in SADC. Are these 4 countries now on the side of Chamisa?
You know, very well, one could say that that is the shift I'm talking about. Look, you have rightly pointed out those particular countries, but I could say the net goes further. Look, the era where we are in, it's an era of what I could say moderate leaders, as you are saying, but not only Botswana, Zambia, South Africa. Just look a little bit further with Mozambique. Look further with the Tanzanian lady, who is a total difference from the president that recently passed on, and go even into DRC. This is the whole of SADC, and I'm saying definitely the president in Zimbabwe has a lot to do if he has to maintain that politics, hardline politics, in which case, if there is a disputed election, or in case where the opposition can properly launch a diplomatic offensive to court the sympathy of these leaders, I think there is no guarantee that the government in Zimbabwe can still sit on their laurels and think that they still have a coterie of homeboys or of the liberation boys who can just sweep their mess under the carpet. It is coming. I would want to think, others may think otherwise, that for ZANU-PF right now, they have to do their homework. Look, the way they entered into power in 2017, still there is suspicion that they have not repented from that. We have seen a whole lot of reports, and as you have rightly said, South Africa had to send a delegation to question Zimbabwe on what they were doing. That is a sign that South Africa still has a bone to chew with Zimbabwe. Besides that, they are also dealing with their own problems at the moment. But in a case where there is a dispute in elections, the next time, I think ZANU-PF, it's time for them to reform. It's time for them to put a semblance of order, of respect, of human rights, of some dignity. President Masisi from Botswana had to go with his own opposition guy. What does that tell you? He is sort of giving into HH's philosophy of how he would want to see the politics being run. So I would think, yes, if you like, ZANU-PF is not in the driving seat as it was under President Robert Mugabe.
Okay, now let's go to Chamisa. Do you think Chamisa is handling this situation in a mature way? Is he making it easy for himself if he wins the election in future? If he is not recognizing Mnangagwa, he continues to run away from dialogue. Do you think this is not a mistake on his part?
Look, Gambakwe, that you can never put it on Chamisa. ZANU-PF has always played, the political, the book politics in dealing with opposition, in which, and in others even call it lawfare, where they use the courts to do things that a statesman can easily do. For instance, the opposition has been asking to say, can we not have a you know, a very fair intermediary, a fair arbitrator in the conflict that we have. But what did ZANU-PF go on to do? To set up a platform which, with all intents and purposes, is meant to water down or to dilute the power that Nelson Chamisa had, which he got at the election. Remember, all these other people say in Poland, truly speaking, they are chancers. They are not supposed to be there. What in total, all of them, all of their votes do not even surpass 60,000. Chamisa, according to their own numbers, had 2.6 million. According to ZEC numbers, had 2.1 million. You know, rendering him the real alternative in Zimbabwe. What is ZANU-PF saying when they do all they have been doing, instead of really inviting him, or like they did with the Motlanthe Commission, invite a respected arbitrator and sit on the table and negotiate exactly what President Mugabe did in 2008. I think it is actually ZANU-PF that has squandered a chance to work with the opposition, not the other way around.
Okay, so Doc, let's say you are President Mnangagwa. You are seeing this behavior from this new president. That is obviously a diplomatic mistake. What are your options? What options would President Mnangagwa have right now to respond to this threat, which is obviously a clear and present danger?
Of course, without necessarily giving him leads to what to do, but any government at this stage, there is no open conflict between Zambia and Zimbabwe. Here, this is where the diplomacy works. Emissaries are sent between the governments to then proclaim what kind of politics they are going to be pursuing. And then you see the commonalities within your policies and where you diverge, and then see areas where you can work together. And definitely, if there are entrenched positions in which you see that we cannot work together, then there is always a Waterloo that will bring everything out into the open to show that no, there is no agreement. But at this moment, I think HH has made his move, and his move is to say, let's be inclusive, let's be tolerant. And if ZANU-PF chooses to say, to hell with you, then they will have their place in hell, as it were, as well. I mean, when they are dealing with Zambia.
Okay, but in Zambia itself, is Hakainde not making mistakes? First, he had a church service in State House. Then he fired all the army generals, the police commanders. Don't you think he's moving too fast? Where is he getting his advice?
Well, on that note, I think, Gambakwe, this is an issue which also requires sober minds there. I think, of course, media has a tendency of sensationalizing. When I saw, actually, I like the way you were one of the first people to report it and said, Hichilema is fired. You know, when people use these words, whether you like to say it's fired or he has been relieved of his duties or he has been, but yes, I would want to think and say probably the way Hakainde Hichilema is handling the Zambian issues, the Zambian politics at the moment, as the winner of the election, must give us an opportunity. Because remember, he is at his on his honeymoon. Everyone is celebrating for him, but it must give us an opportunity to pause and ask what I can call germane questions, to ask pertinent questions on what the impact of what he is doing would be, not only in Zambia, but in the sub-region. Firstly, I would say, what first question we could ask is that, is there any better way to handle a transition in an inclusive way than what he is doing?
Second, okay, let's take the church issue. No. Let's take the church issue. You take your church members, not a national day of prayer, but your church members, and you put them in State House to pray on a Saturday. Is that not a sign of things to come?
Wait, you okay, Gambakwe, there is freedom of religion in Zambia, and I know that the president, being a Seventh-day Adventist, it remains his right, which is enshrined in the Constitution, and that, because he is a president, that should not strip him of his religious beliefs, and those who voted him, who were more than 1 million from the previous president, voted for him knowing very well that he was a billionaire, knowing very well that he was a Seventh-day Adventist, knowing very well the values that he carried, and therefore he is carrying them on. It is the way he is going to carry his duties. Let me tell you, when you are a leader of a country, your character, the person that who you are, most of the time is going to be seen within the institutions you seek to create. It is definitely. If you are a soldier, you are likely to run a country in a military style. If you are a businessman, you are likely to run your country as a CEO. If you are a pastor, you are likely to run your church as if everyone is your disciple. So look, that is to be expected. It's not only in Zambia, it's everywhere. We are being ruled by guerrillas, and we can feel it, that these are people who came from the bush, from the liberation struggle. And look, that's not a mistake, and I hope he won't make an apology, and people should not seek to strip him of his religious beliefs on the basis that now he is the president.
Okay, I want to show you something very, very quickly. I want to show you something quickly, then I ask you a question.
Yes. Gambago, what is happening?
You saw that. You saw.
Yeah, I saw that. What was happening?
That was the newly appointed guy in the military, shaking like a straw.
Well,
do you see that, or do you want me to replay
it? just bring it back again. I had not seen that.
Okay, let's play it. Okay, these guys are not ready.
Okay, right. So it brings me back, Gambakwe. When you stopped me, I was still trying to highlight something because you had asked a question about church, about the changes that he is making also in the army, in the security. And I was making a point to say it gives us an opportunity to pause also and ask questions on what the impact of what he is doing within Zambia and elsewhere in the sub-region. And I was saying the first question is that, is there any better way of handling a transition? Remember, he is dealing with a transition right now. The first part, which was important, was when President Lungu handed the instruments of power to him. And now he's going through some of the very sensitive appointments. But the second question I was going to ask is, do we have lessons from elsewhere as to how we can handle this transition in a better way, particularly to preserve peace? And especially looking at the way that he has gone on to make changes within the security sector. Should we hope on the, or in the benevolence, if you like, or in the goodwill of the leader that has just been elected, that they will do the right thing? Should we just hope that they are going to do the right thing, or support that they are doing the right thing? Okay, what should be, look, what should be done to the vanquished, as it were? You know, there is always in Africa, particularly in Southern Africa, that binary of the victors and the vanquished. And that there is a saying that goes that it is the victors who write the history. So here you are with President HH making quick changes in the military. So I would say, I mean, many political scientists would bring in many theories, but in my own view, I think there are two observations I want us to make, two different observations. The first one is that the fear of retribution by the incumbents is real, and in most of the cases, it has led to what we have in even in Zimbabwe. I think by the admission of the current president, he said it in 2008 that Morgan Tsvangirai had won, and others were packing their bags. People like Didmas Mtasa, he said they were already in Rusape. They had already cleared their offices. But at that time, reports that we had were that there were those who were hardliners and those who were moderate who said, no, let's let it go. Others who were there to say, going where? What? Basically, they had fears of what would happen to us. And I'm putting this into the perspective of what Hichilema has done, to say, let's ask questions. I want all of us to have sober minds asking this question. You know, the fear of retribution is a reality with most of those in power today and politicians. And therefore, can we have an incentive? Does this, what HH has done, incentivize other people in power? I would say maybe no, but others have other views there. Is it not too early what he has done, you have asked? Yeah, I'm forced to say I tend to agree with you there that probably it's him as well consolidating his power. And for a new president who is loved so much by all of us, I'm yet to see why these changes were made so fast. And my other worry is that what process, you have shown me a shaking gentleman there. What process has he put in place to select these incoming people? Was it a process of merit? What was it? Is it about alliances, political alliances? You know, the fall of Africa has always been this, that there is always promise at the beginning and then it ends in jeopardy. How did he select them? Isn't this an opportunity for him to entrench stronger institutions? Couldn't he give them a rope to as it were, to commit harakiri by themselves? Why was it so quick? They are the very people who shepherded the the process of the election and made sure that power was transferred to him? Was it that bad that they had to be removed at the moment he stepped into State House? That is one way of viewing it. The other way of viewing it is that it definitely teaches us that when you are privileged to serve your country, do it with honor. Uphold the oath that you swore to uphold. We also had reports of some of these generals probably making some statements and to the point that Hichilema was refused to go and campaign in some regions because some police officers, inspector generals, were refusing him to go there. The second thing is that do not treat state power as a gateway to break the law. This is what incumbents should know. Because what is happening with HH is that definitely your day will come and you get out of that office and you will have to face some of the things that you have done. The third thing is treat opponents with respect, remembering that Chisingaperi Chinoshura. I sometimes laugh when I see George Charamba saying some very derogatory things. They say these things. Treat opponents with respect, just like HH has shown by inviting Chamisa. And lastly, on that note, I think let's create politics of tolerance across political parties, across groupings, be them religious, social, union, student groups. Let's be tolerant. Tolerance means that we can disagree without being disagreeable, without necessarily fighting. So from here, I think we shall see how HH executes his foreign policy, and it will ring a message to us to say, what is he going to do? Both his domestic and foreign policies, we shall see what he's going to do. But I wouldn't want to quickly judge him, because him on the ground would know why those changes are necessary now. But I think the questions that I have asked are very pertinent questions that all of us should ask. Was it really necessary? Is it not an opportunity being lost to entrench the institution? Because you want your army to be sure that even if we transfer power across the presidents, we are not going to be treated like we are some extension of the political parties, but give them time to sort themselves, give them time to correct whatever wrongs they would have done. Be the bigger men, be the statesmen. I would have thought HH would do that. And then by the time he says, you are being relieved of your duties, definitely there would have been reason to say, you know what, you are making progress. I mean, you are putting spanners into the way, and you are retarding our progress. So far, that's what I can say about what HH has done.
Okay, Doc. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, I'm going to try to find someone from Zambia to talk in detail about these military changes. Myself, I was very concerned about him holding church with his denomination in State House. When I saw that, I was very, very disappointed with the Hakainde Hichilema. I was following him and giving updates during the actual vote. But when I saw him with his church in State House, I started to sense something. There's more to come, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the way he...
But Gambakwe, this is not new. Let me just don't focus on the church. It's nothing. England is the church of the Anglicans. They do it in Anglican, but it doesn't mean that every British is Anglican. President Mugabe was Roman Catholic. He was not shy about his Catholicism. President Mnangagwa is Methodist. I remember he visited Methodist the other day. President Chamisa is Apostolic Faith Mission. The tolerance I am talking about is that which transcends what each and every one of us believe in. Tendai Biti, I'm sure Tendai Biti has some Islamic link or something, or Muslim, as it were. Tolerance is when you realize that the next person is different in terms of their beliefs, whether religious, whether political, whether economic beliefs, whatever beliefs, but you can still tolerate what they do, knowing that they are human beings, and whatever they are doing is to progress humanity. So what HH did about church, I think, should not even make news, or if any news it should make, it is that he is a religious person who is willing to submit to a higher God, because most of us in Southern Africa, we believe in God. Never mind you believe in through SDA or whatever. I think I respect the fact that for a majority of Christians within the sub-region, I think it's something that we can applaud and say a God-fearing leader is a leader we are looking for today.
Okay, Doc, I think we've talked for long enough. Let us see what happens in the near future. But to summarize, in my view, what Hakainde Hichilema did with Chamisa, to me, it was a sign of lack of understanding of international engagement. It's going to make his relationship with the government of Zimbabwe very, very difficult, because he should not have taken that position of elevating Chamisa to such an extent in such a public platform. You could have met him somewhere else, but I do not think that was the right platform to do what he did.
No, Gambakwe, like I always tell you, you must also look at precedents. I want to just refer you to precedents. This is not unprecedented, particularly in our region. President Kama literally made it his business to support the movement for democratic change. He didn't even mince his words. In fact, at some point, President, Dr. Morgan Trangirai came to live with President Kama here in Gaborone, and of course it was open gates, as it were, between President Mugabe and President Kama, because President Kama's stance was that we cannot cuddle a dictator and under the guise of diplomacy. We cannot treat a dictator with kid gloves under the banner of diplomatic relations. And if indeed HH did that to spite, I don't think it's a mistake. It is a signal, if you like. It is a signal of how he wants politics to be done, and I'm sure many people will agree with him. It's only those who fear for their positions. It's only those who have a lot to hide. It's only those who know how they treat their opposition who would be scared. Why did President Masisi travel on the same aeroplane with Mr. Dumelang Saleshando, who is the opposition leader? It is the politics of tolerance. So what I'm saying is that it's not about HH. It's about the government in Zimbabwe to start to realize where the tide is going. And if they decide to entrench and not transform, then unfortunately tides by their very nature, they have a tendency to wash away what they meet along the way.
Right, Doc, I'm so happy to talk to you. How was your birthday? I forgot to ask.
Oh man, it was quite brilliant. We were just thanking God that under COVID, we had another day to pray and say thank you, God. We have given us another time to live. These are extremely difficult times, but thank you very much for remembering that it was my birthday some 3 days ago or 4 days ago.
Okay, I'm going to be sending you my present very, very soon, and it will be very interesting. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Well, Gambakwe, this is an interesting topic actually that we had today, and the only last thing I would want to say is that far from even just being President Mnangagwa, who could be affected by this, I think it's something that the region should be looking forward to, because I think over time we've been seeing this change, and it gives us hope that the way we do our politics may, I mean, it might be changing. It might not be soon that we will experience that change, but it's moving in the same direction, and I am happy that Zambia, which has been a bastion of liberation parties in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Namibia, is today again becoming topical. President Robert Mugabe was housed there. President Mnangagwa, actually, he speaks. I didn't even know that he speaks Tonga from Zambia, and many people in ZAPU, in ZANU, in the ANC. That is the place where they got their support, the diplomatic support to fight against the current regimes, which were very oppressive. And if HH can pick up on that, I think it's a way to go. And I think the events as they are happening are pointing to that shift, if you like. Others might have a different view. So thanks very much, Gambakwe, for having this chat with me today.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And I love the people of Zambia, and I know we've got a very big following since the election from Zambia. So tomorrow, join us. We'll talk to someone from Zambia about the transition and the changes in the military, and we'll see whether it was a good thing or not. Thank you very much, Doc. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you very much, Gambakwe. Cheers.